Every now and then you will have a moment of quietness and clarity, a clear moment of sincerity with yourself, a moment of absolute pain and disappointment in which you reflect on your life and on the fact that many times in your existence you have felt rejection and betrayal from the ones to whom you have wholeheartedly offered full acceptance and devotion. Sometimes you realize that instead of being exceptions in your life, such moments seem to be the rule. Sometimes such moments seem to come from the people that should be your guardians, your protectors, your loved ones, and you end up wondering if the world is indeed full of snakes and bastards, selfish, self-centered people that only care about their own well-being, regardless of who they have to step on to achieve that. Does this type of scenario sound familiar, friend? Were you ever in situations in which, regardless of your good intentions, you seem to end up rejected, put down and betrayed by the ones in which you put all your confidence and trust? Does this seem to happen over and over like a predestined pattern of behaviors in which everyone you meet seems to end up deceiving you intentionally? Can this mean that everyone in the world is evil and deceitful? Can this mean that you can never trust anyone around you? Or is there something more to the rejection and betrayal that you encounter so often? Something that you might want to look into. If I managed to capture your attention for a brief moment, and if you wish to understand this pattern in your life, friend, you might want to stick around and hear what I'm about to say. To understand rejection and betrayal on a deeper level, you must look closer to the mechanisms that were usually set into motion in the moments of your younger years, when you were deeply wounded through childhood experiences of deception and disillusionment. Such moments could have gone by unnoticed when, for example, your mother or father tried wholeheartedly to identify with a perfect, all-protective, all-supportive caregiver, pretending that this is all they were, even though sometimes other, quite opposite feelings and emotions were present in the relationship with you. As good and for the kid as such scenarios might seem from the outside, such situations remove from the child the experience of a more personal relationship with his parents and prevent the child from forming a complete and total picture of his caregiver's true personality, so that he too can begin to experience more of his own individuality. You see, friend, if, for example, your father identified a lot with a positive, righteous father who can never do wrong or have any bad intentions or even bad thoughts, the negative elements of his personality were strongly repressed in his unconscious, and you as a young boy, instead of experiencing the transition from the typical perfect hero, godly father figure to the more human father with many shadings of emotions and traits, you remain stuck, caught between two opposing forces, what your father pretends to be and what your father hates and rejects in himself, hate and rejection that he projected on everyone else. The effect of such a polarity in your father was that you ended up unconsciously resenting being removed from the possibility of becoming complete one day, having a strong impulse that urges you to move on, but at the same time being left with only two choices. Either remain a child having no individuality of your own just to be able to please your incomplete father, or face the wrath of the absolute rejecting and demanding negative father, with no other option in between. When you were faced with such a dark power that destroys any sense of gratification and accomplishment, even if you did your best to move toward the goal of giving form and expression to your own individuality, you experienced a deep sense of betrayal and rejection, the kind of treachery that is felt to the core of your being. The consequence of such an experience is that you had to hide and repress your own uniqueness, stashing all of your individuality away in the darkest corners of your soul. And since such dark corners always contain many things which are really unacceptable, hostile and destructive to you and others, like uncontrolled lust for destruction, fantasies of rape and murder, greed, envy, wrath, such a mix of individuality and darkness can be disastrous, since you will learn to experience acceptance of your soul and darkness as one and the same. This kind of confusion will leave you empty and numb, without any speck of originality, since you associate everything that is particular to you as bad, evil or grotesque, ending up unable to establish or maintain any close connection with anyone, and unconsciously making sure that whenever such a connection might happen, whenever your individuality might need to be expressed, you will do something to make the other person reject or betray you. Anything that will allow you to stay hidden and concealed. Keep in mind, friend, that this is just a consequence of your own inability to distinguish between your own darkness and your repressed individuality. This can cause you deep feelings of shame, guilt, and fear whenever you enter into a relationship with another soul. The childish and regressive elements of your individuality, which should have been integrated into your personality, the ones that were once rejected and internalized because of the experience with your parents, still make you feel rejected and betrayed, even though you might have in your current relationship a deep acceptance and love. The demand that you might feel towards the other person in your life to redeem you from the guilt you feel about the truly unacceptable and destructive dark aspects of your personality is just the expression of your deep desire to integrate your individuality into your life. And it seems to you that the only way in which you can bring back to life your inhibited uniqueness, which you still cannot differentiate from your dark and malevolent repressed traits, is to embrace both of them. As if the desire for sexual connection cannot exist in you without the uncontrolled lust for soulless promiscuity. As if anger cannot exist within you without the unrestrained craving for rage and violence. As if the expression of your own nature cannot happen without destruction and desolation. Be aware of such a pattern in your life, friend, and dare to look deeper into your feelings of rejection and betrayal. Learn how to differentiate between what is actually evil and dark and the elements of your personality that will make your life complete. And take the risk of looking into the darkest parts of your soul to rescue the individuality that was buried deep with some of the most horrid, depraved and wicked elements of human nature. Dare to venture into the darkest corners of your soul, recognize the disowned traits that you hid away to be able to survive and develop yourself in your past environment, and extract from the hellhole of your soul the unique and individual elements that will make a complete man out of you. When faced with the feeling of rejection and betrayal, will you dare to look into the dark, to give yourself permission to be an individual and to own who you are? Or will you follow the already learned pattern of putting your head down, rejecting who you are and filling yourself up with resentment and hate? The choice is yours to make.